I am a big fan of Beyonce and Jay-Z. I was born in Brooklyn, so of course, I love Jay-Z. And today I just want to share a story with you. It's kind of funny how things come full circle, right? Well, let me just dive right into this. But before I do that, I do want to share. You can see me here every week on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on Twitter. My YouTube handle is right down below, MJS Photography. Find me there on YouTube. You can watch this anytime on YouTube, as a matter of fact, as well. So let's dive into this story I want to share with you guys about this Jay-Z and Beyonce and what I call the ripple effect. So it's kind of crazy thinking about this, but I play Spotify in my gym every day, and I've got Jay-Z and Beyonce in my mix. So, of course, everybody's probably heard this album, Everything is Love. And on that album, there is this song called Summer. I love that song. Well, in the corner is the album cover. And on this album, Jay-Z and Beyonce, the Carters, they decided to put people besides themselves on the cover. So they chose two of their dancers to highlight and have on this cover. Well, my buddy was in town. He lives in LA, but he came to Japan, and he came to town. He was doing some paintings while he was here. And he told me he saw this guy's face. He says, I like this guy's face. I want to paint this guy. I heard he's coming here. So he started painting the guy, and he sent the guy a message on Instagram, reached out to him, and the guy decided to come over. But I watched him paint this painting of him. So I went there and documented my friend Chaz Guest, famous painter, making this image. I loved the image as well, because seeing this image of this guy, he looks like people I've known in my life. I think he has that kind of face where he just seems familiar. When you look at this painting, a lot of people probably know somebody who looks like this or reminds you of somebody anyway. But I like this painting, and I liked watching my buddy make this painting. Well, when he finished it, he had it hung up, and he had a gallery exhibit, and he invited this guy to come over and see. So the guy's name, well, first let me just tell you more about this before I go into his name and stuff. I love this painting. He used the paint that he found in Tokushima to make the painting. Beautiful, beautiful, this deep blue feeling about it. So he comes over, and this is Slick. Nicholas Slick Stewart comes over to the studio, meets Chaz. I meet him, meet his girl as well. They're there. I'll see his mom as well. His mom came, so they're all here visiting Japan. They came over, and right away, I liked his energy and his vibe. So he's there. I watch him as he's talking to Chaz. Chaz is painting an image of Angelina Jolie. He's watching that transformation as he works on the image. Then Chaz decides to do a painting, actually a sketch really fast of him. So in the moment, he makes this painting of him. He's watching the process. And it probably took him 5 minutes for Chaz to make this drawing of him with paint in the moment. And I love the image. And of course, so did Slick. So I had Slick hold the picture up, and I decided I want to capture this image as well, based off of what Chaz did of him. So I'm watching them looking at the painting, and they love it. This is Slick right here, and kind of cool seeing this image, seeing them go through, look at it, admire it. And then in that moment, I said, you know what? I want to actually take this painting and do an image based on the painting. Very often it's the other way around. But today I saw that painting Chaz did and said, I want to do your painting, your picture as well. So I put them by the window. This is all natural light, window light. Put them there, had them stand right in front of the window. My back's to the window, and I made this portrait. But I wanted it to feel more like the image that Chaz made, so I turned them just a little bit. and I got this image, and I love this picture. I love the picture. I love the feeling. And this all came about just from, you know, first having the exposure to Jay-Z and Beyonce and that song, seeing that cover, what Slick is on, and then having him come to Japan and capture that moment. It's really cool to see that and experience that. It's funny how things, come back around, the ripple effect of having things like in your universe come back around. And I think that happens quite a bit. Now, this is a small influence of music on us that happens all the time. If you're like me, I love music and it has a big impact on me. I'm always playing it in the gym when I'm shooting. So Jay-Z, Beyonce, thank you for the inspiration. Slick, thank you as well. Chaz, thank you as well. But you may have questions from anything you've just seen. I love to take your questions. So feel free to go up there, drop them in the chat right now. If you're watching live, let me know any questions you have about that. I've got a photography lesson I want to focus on today as well. So you definitely want to stay around for this, because this lesson is about something that we all do, no matter what type of photography you're into. We all deal with this aspect of storytelling. So I'll dive into that in a second. But let me just see if there are any questions first about the Slick story and the Chaz painting. If there's not, I'm going to go right into the story after I have my green tea. Have to have that green tea, for health, for everything. So let's dive right into this story now, or this lesson today. So for those who don't know me, my name is Matthew Jordan Smith. I've been a photographer for 35 years, and I love this business. I'm also a Nikon ambassador. Now, today I want to talk about storytelling. All this month, I've been talking about how you tell a story, and I want to focus today on the composition and framing part of the story, because this is important, because the way a person's eye enters a picture has a feeling. And I want you to use this to your advantage as you are framing your pictures, composing your pictures. And this works on any type of photography, landscape, people, you name it, weddings. This applies to everybody who has a camera in their hand. Actually, also for videographers, this is also applies. So let's dive right into this. Again, my name is Matthew Jordan Smith. Today's topic is all about compositing or composition and framing, not compositing. So this is a festival that happens here in Tokyo. I was going to go to one this coming week. I'm going to go to one as well. And a lot of times I see people put things in the middle of the frame, and that's really not going to help you. So I want you to lead people in your picture and use space to make the picture work. That composition is more flattering to the eye. People can see what's happening, they get a feeling, the eye's drawn to it. And I think when we all begin taking pictures, we all put everything in the center. And there is a place for that. But if you think about the rule of thirds, if you've never heard about that, having your main subject in 1/3 of the frame makes for a better picture. So the rule of thirds definitely works whether you're a photographer or a videographer. So very often I'm trying to frame my subject, whatever that is, in a manner that helps your eye go to what I believe is the main subject. I'm also shooting at a very shallow depth of field because I don't want you to focus on the people behind the feet. I want you to focus on my main subject. And these shoes are what they wear when there's an Awa Odori festival going on. So here, let's see that rule of thirds when you have people, portraits. So here I have a couple. This is actually my buddy Chaz Guest and his fiance, Yuko Sumeida Jackson, from Michael Jackson video years ago. If you remember that famous dancer. So here they are, and she's the focus. With every picture, there's a hero to the picture. The hero in this picture is Yuko Sumeida Jackson. So I want to have her in that third of the frame where your eye enters the picture and lands on her. In this case, Chaz is the co-star of the picture, but the hero is Yuko. Now, funny story about these two. They met actually earlier this year at a gallery opening that I had. And sparks flew, and now they're engaged. Kind of funny seeing how things happen, by happenstance. So congrats, guys. So here's a picture where the subject is in the middle. And I told you earlier, sometimes this works. And in this situation, the way of composing this picture, the framing, this works. The fireworks are the main theme, and the supporting actor in this case of this story is the person's silhouette. And of course, if you look closely, you'll see small little silhouettes of other people, but this guy was the one standing and having the fireworks around him. It makes this picture where he's in the center really work well. It does work at times when the person's in the center, but normally you want to use that rule of thirds to make a person's eye into your picture the way you want it to happen. So here we are, rule of thirds, where my main subject is galloping on his horse. So I have space to show that where he's going, you'll see this horse is in full gallop mode, all hoofs off the floor, off the sand in this case. Here we are in nature in the North Pole, walruses, and again, I'm using that rule of thirds, trying to bring your eye right to the main subject so you see him more than anything else. He stands out. And the other ones, again, they're more like the supporting cast. He's the main actor in this story. Here we have a male model, a very well-known male figure right now, and he is also on camera left, and this works left or right. You decide where you want to have your subject, where the eye goes to. If I'm doing a story and there are multiple pictures, this really works hand in hand when you are pairing pictures together. You decide where you want to place your image on the left page, on the right page. Say you're doing a story for a magazine, you'll have left page, right page. Or maybe you're doing a wedding and you're putting a book together for your clients. This also works to make for more powerful pictures and layouts in your wedding album. If you're into nature, and I know many of us are, of course, I live in Japan, you can't help but be into nature and the beauty all around you. I want to also use a rule of thirds in this way as well. So the main part of this Torii gate, I have that on camera right. So your eye enters the picture and lands there. Now, if you have this centered, it's not as powerful. So your framing, your composition's important in every picture you take. Just don't raise your camera and take a picture, or your smartphone or whatever you're using. Compose, frame it, decide where you want to be. That's the part that we have control over, the vision. So lead people into your picture. Make your main part of your image fall into that rule of thirds, where it's on 1/3 of the picture. That main part is in the main section, is that first third or end of the third part of your frame. Now, I want to go deeper with this. I want to show you an actual job. I'm going to call this, the job was not called The Art of War and Joy of Peace, but for this story, I'm going to call it The Art of War and the Joy of Peace. Now, this is an actual ad campaign that I shot for Nikon, for the Nikon Z9. I want to set this up for you. So when you're shooting a campaign for a brand new product, very often it's secret. You don't know about it. You can't have the product before you shoot. So before shooting this campaign with this brand new camera, I'm giving the camera 1 hour before the shoot. I've got to try to learn the camera in that time and then shoot a campaign with it. So this camera was the first camera that you could shoot somebody moving extremely fast, and it focuses on the eyes in any situation, whether they're looking off to the side or directly at you, in low light, in bright light, if a subject is moving very fast. So when Nikon contacted me, I said, I know a sword performer. She's great with the katana, the sword. Let me call her, because when they're moving that sword around, it happens extremely fast. Can this camera keep up with her in that situation? Also, if I have a very shallow depth of field, like f2, very shallow means I can focus on one part, like say a person's eyes, and then the rest goes slightly out of focus. So I chose a lens that would allow me to do that. I chose a 50 millimeter lens. I'm shooting at f2, and my actress, my sword performer, she's going through her sword play super fast. So here she is, and look at her hair ornaments, how they're moving. This is her going through, and I'm gonna go through really fast to show you what this feels like, and then I'll come back through it again. So she's going through like this, super fast, just moving at the speed of this katana going as fast as it can, moving toward me, and this is a fake sword. So there's no chance of me getting cut at all, because I'm actually very close to her. So as she's going through these movements, I'm right there. It was so cool to see that. And look at her hair ornaments flying. This is a very heavy kimono she has on. It's flying as well. This is in the moment in capturing these images. And it was so much fun for me to go through and capture all of these moments as they happen in the blink of an eye, and get her sharp in her eyes. Everything else goes slightly soft. Now, I love that. I call this the art of war. And I love this because she's pretending she is in a battle. Love that too. Again, this is not a real sword. It's not a real sharp katana at all. It's a fake performing katana. But she is having a ball going here. And I am too, shooting and capturing these moments. Look at this as she makes that cut. Her katana is in the air. Her kimono is in the air as well. Kind of cool to see that. And she is actually screaming and going through doing the sounds she would make if she were in a battle or she's performing. I loved seeing all this in the moment and capturing all these images as she goes through and makes her cut on me and in battle and having a ball. Loved all this and getting it sharp every single frame. In the past, I'd probably go to f16, having a lot of depth of field, and pray I can get, a few shots, but shoot a lot and hope I get something in the process. With this camera, with the Z9, every frame was in focus. It was like amazing. And I've been in love with the Z9, and now the Z8 as well is a smaller version that does the same thing. Same technology is in that camera as well. Great to see and shoot with. Now, this is the art of peace. After war, hopefully there's peace, right? So I want to change the energy, take the sword away, and give her these special Japanese fans. A fan in Japanese is called a sensu. So she has these sensus, and I changed the light a little bit so it's less light. No problem still, capturing focus on the eyes, even as she waves a fan. Now, I did say these are special fans, so I want you to think about these fans being almost like she has a katana in her hand, a sword in her hand, because it's the same type of movement, but she has two fans in her hands. She's moving really fast, and she has to because there's a lot of material at the end of each fan. So to keep the material in the air, she's moving really fast. No problem at all. Catching focus, getting it. The Z9, the Z8, they had this technology, and it just changes the game for photographers. But our lesson today is about framing and composition. So as she's moving super fast through the war and through this art of peace process, I am still able to compose and place her where I want her in the frame. Let's go back for a second and look at her framing here. I'm still, even though she's moving fast, I'm thinking about my composition. I'm thinking about my framing, where she'll be in the picture, where it makes sense. Because when I'm shooting an ad campaign, my client will probably have copy on one side or the other. So I want to make sure I leave space for copy or whatever my client wants to use to make the product come to life visually in an ad campaign. So learning about the rule of thirds, learning about composition and framing is going to help you as a photographer to get better jobs. In this case, this is an ad campaign, and I'm using the rule of thirds to make it work. Now here I have her centered and it works for this picture. So when I'm taking a story, you can have one main picture that really pulls you in and then go and pull back and get them more in that rule of thirds again. Now she has these big fans again, and they're in the air, and she's moving super fast. No problem at all capturing these moments. It was so much fun to get all of this in an instant. Now here we are again, rule of thirds, thinking about how this could be used, and you want to shoot a lot because once you're shooting a job, you don't know what your client's going to use later on. So you want to shoot a lot of variety. So here she is, the fans are out of focus. Only her eyes are in focus, even though she's facing away. But I love the feel of this image. It feels peaceful and joyful to me. I just loved it. And here we are again. You're seeing Haruna having a great time. The fans are in motion. Only her eyes are in focus. The fans are out of focus as she just goes through and shoosh, blows them past me. So much fun. Having fun doing this, and composition, framing, a big part, what pulls you into an image. So when you have your camera and you're taking pictures from now on, think about your framing and your composition. This is how to tell more powerful, more impactful stories and make your pictures better. Now, I love talking and giving stories and telling tidbits, but I also love having your questions. So right now, let's take your live questions. If you have them, let's hear anything you have to ask in regard to this one. As I take a sip of my green tea again. When you are a photographer and you are trying to get that big job, you want to show your work, not just one picture, but several pictures. So you'll put sometimes a portfolio together. I still have a tangible portfolio, several, as a matter of fact. And I show those to clients because having something tangible is really impactful today because we're seeing everything on a screen, on a monitor. So I still believe in having a portfolio. It's really impressive. They can hold it, touch it. So when I'm laying out my portfolio, the framing and composition is a big part of how I lay out the story. Also, sometimes I'm approaching new clients, and for them, I will send a PDF of my work. And there again, I'm laying out pictures as a story. And the framing and composition is a big part to how they go through and read over the images and hopefully have a feeling, and from that feeling, they contact me and hire me as a photographer. This works all the time. So the framing part, the composition part is important for us as photographers. Do not forget this. I'll be back here again with more stories, more lessons. So make sure you're back here every single week. You can also see me on YouTube all the time with this and more. Thank you guys for your time. I enjoyed this today. I hope you did too. I look forward to seeing you soon. Of course, you can always ask any questions you want. I see one coming in just now. Do you also use an iPad as a portfolio device? I do have my iPad, and I carry that with me a lot, and I'll show PDFs on my iPad. Thank you for asking that question. So I'll ask clients if they want to see a real portfolio, or I'll bring sometimes my actual portfolio and my iPad. And it's funny seeing people have that reaction to both because we're so used to looking at devices today. It's not the same feeling when I take the iPad away and give them my actual portfolio. The portfolio gets a different reaction because they can touch. There is power in sight, sound, and touch. With an actual portfolio, they can touch your work. They can have it in their hand, almost possess it. It's a very different feeling than having your iPad in their hand and swiping. You know, when it first came out, it was a big deal and we were all impressed. Today, we swipe all day long. There's nothing special about it. And now the portfolio is more powerful the way it used to be. Thanks for that question also. Oh, what was my lighting setup? Thank you for asking that question. So in regard to the story I used, let me go back to this image. So for this, I was using one light. I got a black background. My light is on camera left. I used one Profoto strobe light for this whole story. I want to capture the moment. So I had my strobe set at a super low shutter, super low power because I'm shooting at f2. So I need a really fast recycle time. My modifier was just like a beauty dish with a grid. That's it. And I use that as my main and only source of light. I did change lights at one point because I want to go through. So I'm gonna go back to this one image where this is actually a constant light. So this constant light I have off to the side. It's super low. I have a CLX10 by Light in Motion as that constant light coming in to light her from the side. That's the only light I'm using in this situation. So I'm playing around with light, and she's almost back or side lit, so the fan has light coming from behind it almost in the situation. But the other shots, all these other images, that's all this Profoto strobe light that I'm using at a very low power setting. So when I shoot really fast, the strobe can keep up with that low power and a super fast shutter speed, super fast rate of frame rate as I shoot super fast. Also, with the Profoto strobe, there's a setting to go to super fast. I put that button on as well, so I can shoot just like that, and it keeps up all the time. Thank you for that question. Thank you for all these questions, guys. I love that. Thank you for asking all this stuff. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you. If you have any questions about anything you've seen today, feel free to ask away. We love the tech questions, love hearing all that stuff. This was so much fun to go through and shoot in the moment. I just enjoyed it so much. It was happening like this, just like that, just that fast, both the Sensu and the sword. And I loved it. It was just great to be able to capture images this way. And ever since this day, as soon as the Z9 came out and now the Z8, I use them all the time. And I'm spoiled by how fast I can capture an image and get a person's eyes while shooting wide open. I love that. All right, guys, I'll be back here again next week with more lessons and more stories. So make sure you come on, subscribe to the YouTube so you don't miss anything. You get the notifications and so much more. I'm going to say goodbye for now, but I look forward to seeing you again back here next week. Be well, everyone. Take care. Peace.